Hello, my relatives. Leech Lake Tribal College.
Welcome to the final lecture of the Miikinaa series. I know that Elaine is not here. We do have some of the Miikinaa students here, and I don't know about all of you, but I'm sure you've appreciated these lectures and the topics and the work and the organization that's gone into them just as much as I have. So in absentia, let's give Elaine some thanks.
Buju, Nashkiwe Wibanasik Indigenous Cause, Mangnindu Dame, Gazaga Squadjime Kagan Dunjaba. I am here today to introduce Mike Schmid, an honorary member of the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe. Can we all give a hand for Mike Schmid? This is from the Miikinaa.
Buju Awea. Nanginanid Indigenous Cause, Gamasquala Kokag and Dujiba, Chimukaman and Dao. So I have no clan. My name is Mike Schmid. See lots of familiar faces here. I'm from Cass Lake. Lived around here for 40 years and been teaching almost that long at Bugonaygeshig and Cass Lake Bena High School. So I know lots of students here, lots of ex-students. I'm just really happy to be here today. It's an honor to be in this room. I worked with Benny Tontz for many, many years at Bugonaygeshig, a wonderful man. So I'm excited about being here. I've learned a little bit. I think I've learned a few things about teaching students around here in the last 40 years, and I'm going to try and share a few of those things with you. Just keep eating. If you have to belch, do it into your napkin. No. But I think the best way to share and to learn about what works for Indian students, what helps them succeed, both at high school and probably in college is the same thing, is to just get your ideas. And I know this is going to be a little bit tough because I forgot that you're going to be eating, but I'd like to do a thing called Think, Share, and Pair, and that's something that they're really pushing on us now in schools all the way from elementary up. They say that brain research says that if you talk to somebody about an idea, that you're much more able to remember it than if I just sit here and spew things out at you. And so what I'd like to do is to just take a couple of minutes and think about in your own life what has worked for you. What has helped you to be successful in education? Since if you're at the tribal college here, obviously you've had some successes. If you haven't had successes, what would have made it better? Everybody understand the assignment? Didn't think you were going to have to work this hard, did you? We can take about 1 more minute and then we'll share.
Behind me.
Sure. It has to do with getting an example, you'll say.
Excellent. And one of the reasons the tribal college does such a good job is that you can still be close to your family while you're going here, which is really helpful for a lot of people. Okay, so a role model. Really important. I don't know if I know the quote just right, but somebody said, nobody will care what you know until they know that you care. And I think that's another reason why I like smaller schools. I think there's a lot more support. You get to know the kids. That means everything. Relationships, you know, that's the key. And there's been a lot of research done on Native students that says that, well, it says just that. that the more you can model things and show what final product that you're looking for, give them chance to observe. The way our schools are set up so many times is they're set up that you expect kids to act, and then learn. And in the traditional Indian communities, it's you observe first, and then when you think you've got it, then you act. You try and understand it first, and then you act on it. But that's not the way our schools are set up. It's like shoot your hand up real fast, and the first one to answer is, that's kind of encouraged. And I couldn't agree more. I think the key when you walk into a classroom, you need to show those kids that you respect them before you expect it to come back to you. And a lot of people just go in there and say, boom, I'm the teacher and you better respect me. That's not the way to do it. Morris, did your group have anything you wanted to add?
Teaching them on more of an individual level instead of as a group.
And I think the key there is finding something, trying to find something that the kid's interested in, that the student's interested in. It, that makes all the difference. And that's why a lot of times, the more you can give kids a choice, the less resistance you're going to get from them. So, and if they can find something they're interested in and you can tie that in with what you want them to learn somehow, that's really useful. Yep. Same with science projects, science fair days, history fair, all those things, they help. See, so you guys are the experts. You already came up with all kinds of the things that I was going to say. Let's see what else I can come up with here. And I think that's one of the reasons that tribal colleges do so well is because they meet so many of those needs. And the first one is relationships, just to be around people that you're comfortable with, that you know, that you feel at home with. I think that's a big thing. And just tell them with the adults, who do you like to listen to? Who do you like to be around? Who do you talk to? And they put their name in the middle, and then they just write down the names of different people. You don't have to do this, I'm just handing the notes for it. One of the problems with No Child Left Behind the way it is right now is that it looks for students' weaknesses and then tries to fix them instead of finding students' strengths and then building on them. Another problem with No Child Left Behind is it says that a school is penalized if when a kid enters in 9th grade, if they don't finish in 4 years, then you don't make AYP, which is crazy. Because with the problems that some kids face, there's nothing wrong with them finishing high school in 5 years if that's what it takes, or 4.5 years. But that's what we're stuck with right now. But that's one change I've seen is kids now, I'd say almost 100% say, I'm going to finish high school and this is what I'm going to do afterwards. That doesn't mean they all accomplish that, but they're all looking in that direction, that's a big change. A lot of times if you can talk to kids privately or give them a note or something like that, it just works a lot better than embarrassing them in front of their peers. It's not a good plan. In order to serve their students, they really need to take the time to learn about chemical dependency, about gangs, about all the things that affect kids around here. Because there's a lot of it. There's abuse. They need to understand, at the very least, they need to understand that it's not their fault. Because a lot of kids think it's their fault, whatever's happening to them. So I think the more you can learn about those things, the better teacher you'll be, the better mentor, whatever you're doing with parent, whatever. I just think that's really helpful so that kids can heal. Go to things in the community. There's going to be the powwow this weekend. Go to things like that. Because you're going to, even if you don't talk to parents, they're going to see you there. Another thing, unfortunately in our area here, there's a lot of wakes. And I tell new teachers, because we have a thing for new teachers coming in and I get to help present that. And one of the things I say is, don't be afraid to go to wakes. It's so easy. Most of them run a couple of days. You can go anytime. You don't have to stay for a long time. Just go and show that you care. And so I just tell new people that are coming in, don't get discouraged. Maybe somebody doesn't do well in high school. That doesn't mean they aren't going to do well in life. A lot of times it just takes a while. And I think that's another reason why it's so good that this place is here, because you don't have to be 18 when you come in, you know. You can come in whenever you're ready. And some people just aren't ready right away. For people that are going into education, I think that it's really important for schools and teachers to promote the culture now, because you know, for over 100 years that culture was stripped from people, and it was done mostly by schools and the churches and whatever. But you know, for sure the schools had a big part in it. And so sometimes you'll hear teachers say, well, you know, why do we have to teach all this Indian stuff? And it was like that even in Cass Lake. And they don't say that at Bugonaygeshig because they wouldn't have a job for very long. But you know, in Cass Lake it was like that. When I saw things change in Cass Lake was when the Indian student population got up to about 75%. When it was at 50%, teachers were still saying that. Even though half of the kids in the school were Indian, they say, why do we have to know about this Indian stuff? Why do we have to teach that stuff? We shouldn't have to do that. But once it got up to, I think Cass Lake is like about 90% Native now. You know, teachers stopped saying that finally, because they really do need to know something about teaching Native kids. And they finally figured that out, I think, most of them. So that's good. But I think it's really important for the schools to promote the culture, the language. There's still kids coming through, you know, if they're in a real dysfunctional family, they know they're Indian, but they don't know what they have to be proud of. You know, they just think Indian means being Schwabi, you know, so it's really important, I think, to let kids know what they have to be proud of. This next one, this is an old article here, Native Americans, What Not to Teach, but it was put out specifically for teachers, but I use it with students too, for Chumukaman teachers that don't really have a clue. It gives them some ideas. Then the last thing is a little deal that we give to new teachers, the Native American Cultural Awareness Activity. It's just kind of a fun little quiz. We let them work in groups, and then we give them the answers, though, and talk about it a little bit. Surprising, not long ago, we had a group of student teachers from BSU that we gave a little presentation to, and they were absolutely sure, and they were all Chumukaman, but they were absolutely sure that every Indian got a check from the government at the beginning of every month. They were just sure of it. And you know, we tried to convince them otherwise, and I hope we did that. But there's a new stereotype out there that Indians are all rich now, so it's a new one to deal with. One of the things that's gotten harder, I think, is just because it's the electronic age, it's really, you can't entertain kids very easily anymore. You know, it's tough. You have to have them do a lot of self-learning, a lot of where they're doing their interests. Yep. I had my, it's exciting for me and not for anybody else, but when I started teaching, my goal was to teach 3 generations. That's really what I wanted to do. And I had my first 3rd generation student last year, Robert Budrow. I had both of his grandmas in class. Yep, Kim Brown, oops, her daughter left, but Kim Brown is one of his grandmas, and Brenda Budrow, so that was cool. So I know there'll be a lot more coming now, if I can hang on a couple more years. You good?
Leech Lake Tribal College provides quality higher education grounded in Anishinaabe values. Miigwech.